Imagine standing at the edge of a vast canyon. The wind carries whispers of a life you've always dreamed of. A life of courage, clarity, and unshakable purpose. The path forward is just a step away. But your feet are cemented to the ground. Your heart pounds. Your mind races with possibilities. Yet something inside you grips tighter, like a rusted lock refusing to turn. Why? You want to change. To break free from old habits. To silence the self-doubt. To step into a version of yourself that feels whole. But every time you try, an invisible wall rises. This isn't laziness. It's not weakness. It's a force as old as humanity itself, buried deep in your psyche. At Renewed Psyche, we've dedicated years to unraveling the mysteries of the mind. We blend ancient wisdom with modern psychology to help thousands like you overcome inner barriers. From emotional reactivity to moral confusion, we've heard your stories. On X, in emails, in the quiet moments you've shared about feeling stuck. Our mission is to guide you through the fog of self-sabotage. We use tools like the breakthrough method and dignity test to light the way. Today, we're diving into the heart of why you resist change. And how to transform that resistance into a catalyst for growth. What if the force holding you back isn't just fear, but a primal instinct wired into your very being? What if thinkers like Sigmund Freud, Carl Jung, and the Stoic philosophers already mapped out the battle you're fighting? What if the secret to breaking free lies not in forcing change, but in understanding the resistance itself? This isn't just a video. It's a journey into the hidden corners of your soul, where the answers to your stagnation have been waiting all along. Stay with us until the end. We're not just exposing the roots of your resistance. We're giving you a practical, life-changing roadmap to overcome it. Every section builds toward a revelation that could redefine how you see yourself. Don't skip ahead. The breakthrough method and dignity test we'll share could be the key to unlocking a life of renewed dignity and purpose. Let's begin. Change is the pulse of the universe. Stars collapse into supernovas. Seasons shift. Empires rise and fall. Yet, for us, change is a paradox. A longing and a terror. We dream of transformation. A healthier body. A clearer mind. A life aligned with our deepest values. But when the moment comes to act, we hesitate. As if stepping forward means stepping off a cliff. Why? To answer, we'll journey through the minds of three titans who wrestled with the human condition. Sigmund Freud, who uncovered the death drive's seductive pull toward stasis. Carl Jung, who revealed the shadow hiding in our unconscious. And the Stoics, who taught us to master fear through reason and virtue. These thinkers didn't just theorize. They mapped the war within us. Freud saw resistance as a primal instinct to cling to the familiar. Jung showed how our denied selves sabotage our growth. The Stoics offered a path to transcend fear by aligning with nature's flow. At Renewed Psyche, we've distilled their wisdom into our breakthrough method and dignity test. Tools designed to help you face resistance and step into your potential. This isn't abstract philosophy. It's a lifeline for anyone who's ever felt stuck. Freud's death drive isn't about wanting to die. It's about craving the comfort of the known, even when it's toxic. It's why you stay in a soul-crushing job or repeat the same arguments. Jung's shadow is the part of you you've buried. Your fears, shame, or desires. It fights change to stay hidden. Stoicism, from Marcus Aurelius to Epictetus, teaches that change is a moral act. A chance to practice courage and wisdom. These frameworks aren't just ideas. They're mirrors reflecting why you resist and how to break free. Our breakthrough method weaves them together. And the dignity test challenges you to align with your highest self. Let's dive into the heart of resistance. Imagine a river cutting through a rugged mountain. It flows with purpose, carving stone into valleys, shaping the earth over millennia. But when it meets a dam, it churns, rages, and stalls. It's energy trapped. That's inner resistance. A force within you that fights the natural flow of change. It's not just procrastination or lack of willpower. It's a deep, visceral pull to stay where you are. Even when you know change could set you free. Inner resistance shows up in countless ways. It's the voice that whispers, "You're not ready," when you think about quitting a toxic habit. It's the knot in your stomach when you consider confronting a painful truth. It's the bone-deep exhaustion that hits when you imagine a new life. Psychologically, resistance is your mind's defense mechanism. A shield against the uncertainty of change. But that shield comes at a cost. It traps you in cycles of self-sabotage, keeping you stuck in patterns you long to break. Why is change so hard? Because it threatens your identity. Your habits, your flaws, even your pain. They're familiar. They're you. To change is to step into a void. To risk losing the story you've told yourself about who you are. Consider Sarah, a 32-year-old accountant who dreams of becoming a writer. Every night, she sits at her laptop. But the blank page mocks her. Who am I to write? She thinks. I'm not creative enough. That's resistance. Not laziness, but a fear of losing the safety of her current self. This contradiction is universal. We crave growth but cling to the known. It's why you might avoid therapy, even when you know it could heal you. It's why you skip the gym, even though you want to feel strong. Resistance isn't a flaw. It's a human struggle. One that philosophers and psychologists have grappled with for centuries. To understand it, we need to dig deeper into the hidden forces driving this paradox. Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, peered into the abyss of the human psyche and saw something unsettling. A force he called the death drive, or thanatos. This isn't about a literal desire to die, but a primal urge to return to stillness, to the comfort of the known, even if it's destructive. Picture a sailor clinging to a sinking ship, too terrified to swim toward the horizon. The open sea is vast, unpredictable, alive. The ship, though doomed, is familiar. That's the death drive. Freud argued that we're drawn to repetition, to familiar patterns, even when they harm us. The goal of all life is death, he wrote in Beyond the Pleasure Principle, suggesting that part of us seeks the simplicity of inertia over the chaos of growth. Think about it. Why do you scroll mindlessly for hours instead of working on your dreams? Why do you stay in a relationship that drains you? The death drive whispers that familiarity, even painful familiarity, is safer than the unknown. Take James, a 40-year-old software engineer. He hates his job. Long hours, no passion. But every time he thinks about switching careers, he feels paralyzed. What if I fail? He asks himself. What if I can't pay the bills? Instead of applying for new roles, he binge-watches shows, numbing the discomfort of his ambition. That's the death drive at work, lulling him into stagnation. This hidden evidence reveals a brutal truth. Resistance isn't just about fear of failure. It's a fear of life. Of the energy, the unpredictability, the vulnerability that change demands. Freud saw this as a universal force. Battling the life drive, eros, our urge to create and grow. When the death drive wins, we choose comfort over courage. Repetition over renewal. But here's the hope. Recognizing this force is the first step to overcoming it. Our breakthrough method begins by naming the death drive, shining a light on its subtle grip. Let's explore a real-world example. In a 2019 study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, researchers found that people often avoid major life changes, like moving to a new city or ending a toxic relationship. Not because they lack ambition, but because they overestimate the emotional cost of change. They cling to the familiar, even when it's miserable, because it feels predictable. This is Freud's death drive in action. A psychological anchor dragging us backward. But naming it isn't enough. To break free, we need to confront another hidden force. One that Jung called the shadow. Let's bring this into your world. You're scrolling X, watching people transform their lives. A fitness influencer shares their journey from couch potato to marathon runner. An entrepreneur posts about quitting their 9-to-5 to build $1 million business. You feel a spark of inspiration. But when you try to act, start that workout, draft that business plan, resistance kicks in. You oversleep. You overthink. You tell yourself, tomorrow. Sound familiar? You're not alone. Millions of us are caught in this cycle, battling the same invisible wall. In today's world, resistance thrives in distractions. Social media, streaming platforms, the endless ping of notifications. They're modern sirens, lulling us into stagnation. Why do we binge watch a series instead of writing that novel? Why do we scroll through fitness posts instead of hitting the gym? These aren't just bad habits. They're manifestations of the death drive, amplified by a society that rewards instant gratification over hard-won growth. Consider Emma, a 28-year-old graphic designer. She wants to start her own studio. But every evening, she spends hours on her phone, comparing herself to others. I'm not as talented as them, she thinks. Why even try? Her resistance isn't just fear. It's a cultural trap. Social media feeds her insecurities, reinforcing the death drive's pull toward inaction. A 2023 study from Nature Communications found that excessive social media use correlates with higher levels of procrastination and self-doubt, as constant comparison fuels feelings of inadequacy. Resistance also shows up in relationships. Maybe you avoid a tough conversation with a partner because it feels safer to keep the peace. Or you stay silent at work, swallowing a bold idea because you fear judgment. These are modern dilemmas, rooted in the same ancient forces Freud and Jung described. The dignity test asks, are you living in alignment with your highest self? Or are you letting resistance steal your potential? Let's look at another example. Mark, a 35-year-old teacher, wants to improve his mental health. He knows therapy could help. But every time he considers booking a session, he feels a wave of shame. What if they think I'm weak? He wonders. So he distracts himself. Gaming, scrolling, anything to avoid facing his pain. This is resistance in action. A blend of Freud's death drive and a deeper, hidden force we'll explore next. The Jungian shadow. Society doesn't help. We're bombarded with messages to hustle or be your best self. But these platitudes ignore the inner battle. They tell us to push harder, not to understand why we're stuck. At Renewed Psyche, we believe transformation starts with seeing the truth about yourself, your fears, and the world around you. Let's uncover the next layer. Carl Jung, the mystic of psychology, saw the mind as a vast, uncharted forest. Deep within lies the shadow. The parts of yourself you've buried. Your anger, your shame, your secret desires. The shadow isn't evil. It's just hidden. Rejected because it feels too raw, too unacceptable. But when you try to change, your shadow fights back. Because change forces you to face it. Imagine Priya, a 45-year-old mother who wants to leave her toxic marriage. She dreams of independence. But every time she considers leaving, a voice whispers, "You're selfish. You'll ruin your kids' lives." That's her shadow. The part of her that carries guilt, fear of judgment, and a belief she doesn't deserve freedom. Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Priya's resistance isn't just fear of change. It's her shadow sabotaging her to keep itself hidden. The shadow fuels resistance in subtle ways. Maybe you want to speak up at work, but your shadow whispers, "You're not smart enough." Or you want to pursue a passion, but it reminds you of past failures. Jung believed that ignoring the shadow strengthens it, turning it into a saboteur. When you try to change, it retaliates, flooding you with doubt or shame to protect its secrecy. Society covers this up with a lie. Just think positive. Self-help gurus tell you to ignore your flaws, to fake it till you make it. But suppressing the shadow only empowers it. A 2021 study in psychological science showed that denying negative emotions increases anxiety and reduces resilience, as unacknowledged feelings fester in the unconscious. Jung knew this. Transformation requires facing the shadow, not hiding from it. At Renewed Psyche, our breakthrough method invites you to integrate your shadow. This isn't about fighting your flaws but understanding them. Try this. Write down a change you're resisting. Then ask, what part of me feels threatened by this? Maybe it's shame, fear of failure, or a belief you're unworthy. Name it. Speak it. By bringing the shadow into the light, you rob it of its power. This is the dignity test in action. Choosing to face your truth, not hide from it. Let's look at another case. Alex, a 30-year-old musician, wants to release his first album. But every time he sits down to record, he's paralyzed by self-criticism. I'm not original enough, he thinks. People will laugh. His shadow carries the rejection he felt as a teenager. When his peers mocked his early songs. By avoiding recording, he's protecting that wounded part of himself. But he's also blocking his dreams. Jung would say Alex's path to change lies in embracing his shadow, not silencing it. This cover-up, society's push to ignore our darker selves, is why so many of us stay stuck. But there's a bigger truth waiting. One that ties resistance to our deepest fears and highest potential. Why do we fear change? At its core, it's a fear of loss. Not just of comfort, but of self. Change asks you to let go of the story you've built about who you are. It's like tearing down a house you've lived in for years. Even if it's crumbling. The unknown is terrifying because it's where your identity feels fragile, untested, exposed. This fear is existential. Every hero in every myth faced it. Odysseus left the safety of Ithaca, not knowing if he'd return. Siddhartha abandoned his palace, stepping into a world of uncertainty. Change is a journey into the abyss. Where monsters, doubt, failure, rejection, lurk. Freud's death drive pulls us back to safety. Jung's shadow hides our strength. But there's another way to see this. A way the Stoics mastered. The Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, saw change not as a threat, but as a duty. You have power over your mind, not outside events, Aurelius wrote in Meditations. To the Stoics, resistance is a failure of virtue. A refusal to align with nature's flow. Change is inevitable. Seasons turn, rivers carve mountains, life evolves. To resist it is to resist reality itself. But to embrace it is to practice courage, wisdom, and justice. Consider this Stoic exercise. Amor fati, or love of fate. Imagine your resistance as a storm. Instead of fighting it, stand in its rain and say, "This is my path." Reframe change as a chance to live with dignity, not a threat to your identity. When you fear starting a new career, ask, "What would courage do here?" When you dread a hard conversation, ask, "What would wisdom choose?" This is the dignity test. Are you honoring your highest self, or letting fear define you? Let's make it real. Rachel, a 50-year-old nurse, wants to retire and travel the world. But she's terrified. Her identity is tied to being a caregiver, a reliable person. Change feels like losing herself. A Stoic would ask her, is staying the same serving your virtue, or is it cowardice? By reframing change as a moral act, Rachel can see it as a chance to live boldly. Not a betrayal of her past. This is the bigger picture. Change isn't just personal growth. It's a reclaiming of your humanity. It's a universal truth that connects us all. Every struggle, every triumph, is a step toward becoming who you're meant to be. The breakthrough method builds on this. Offering a way to turn fear into fuel, resistance into resolve. Here's the revelation. Resistance isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It's a signal you're standing at the edge of transformation. Where your greatest fears meet your deepest potential. The breakthrough method is a 3-step path to harness this energy. Grounded in the wisdom of Freud, Jung, and the Stoics. And refined by Renewed Psyche to guide you toward lasting change. Step 1. Name the resistance. Face the death drive and shadow. Start by identifying what's holding you back. Use the dignity test. Sit quietly and ask, what's stopping me from changing? Is it fear of failure? Shame from your shadow? The death drive's pull to safety? Write it down. Speak it aloud. For example, if you're avoiding a career shift, you might write, "I'm afraid I'll fail and prove I'm not good enough." Naming it, as Jung taught, brings the unconscious into the light. A 2020 study in cognitive behavioral therapy found that labeling emotions reduces their intensity by 30%, freeing you to act. Try this exercise. Journal for 10 minutes about a change you're resisting. List every fear, doubt, or excuse. Then, circle the one that feels heaviest. That's your shadow speaking. Or maybe the death drive. By naming it, you weaken its grip. Step 2. Reframe the fear. Channel Stoic wisdom. The Stoics taught that fear is a choice. Events are neutral, but our judgments give them power. Ask, what virtue can I practice here? If you're scared to speak up in a meeting, focus on courage. If you're avoiding a tough conversation, focus on justice. Try this Stoic practice. Premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. Imagine the worst case scenario of your change. If you're starting a business, picture it failing. Then ask, can I survive this? Can I grow from it? Spoiler, you can. This reframes fear as a challenge, not a threat. Marcus Aurelius did this daily, writing, "Today I shall be meeting with interference, but I will not be put off." For example, let's revisit Sarah, the aspiring writer. She's terrified her work won't be good enough. Using premeditatio malorum, she imagines submitting her manuscript and getting rejected. She realizes rejection won't kill her. It'll teach her. This shift makes action possible. The dignity test reinforces this. Is your fear serving your highest self, or betraying it? Step 3. Act with intention. Integrate the shadow. Jung taught that integrating the shadow, acknowledging your fears and flaws, creates wholeness. You don't need to leap the canyon. Just take one step. Commit to one action today. A single push-up, a 5-minute journal entry, a text-to-schedule that therapy session. Here's a practical exercise. The 1% rule. Each day, do 1% more toward your goal. If you're resisting exercise, start with one squat. If you're avoiding a project, write one sentence. A 2022 study in behavioral science showed that small, consistent actions build momentum, reducing resistance over time. Let's look at James, the software engineer. He starts by applying to one job a week. Even though his shadow screams he'll fail. Each application weakens the death drive's grip, proving he can act despite fear. The breakthrough method isn't about perfection. It's about progress. This 3-step process, name, reframe, act, isn't a quick fix. It's a lifelong practice of facing your shadow, defying the death drive, and choosing courage over comfort. The dignity test holds you accountable. Are you moving toward your highest self, or letting resistance win? Let's tie it together with a story. Maria, a 38-year-old single mother, wanted to go back to school, but felt paralyzed by guilt. "I'm taking time away from my kids," her shadow whispered. Using the breakthrough method, she named her guilt, reframed it as a chance to model courage for her children, and started by enrolling in one online course. A year later, she's halfway through her degree. Her confidence soaring. Her resistance didn't vanish. It became her guide. This is the power of the breakthrough method. It's not about erasing fear but using it. Freud showed us the death drive's pull. Jung revealed the shadow's sabotage. The Stoics gave us tools to rise above. Together, they form a path to transformation. One you can start today. You're not watching this by chance. Something in you, a spark, a whisper, knows you're meant for more. The dignity test asks, will you let resistance define you, or will you define yourself through change? Take a moment. Close your eyes. Picture one change you've been resisting. A conversation, a dream, a truth. What's the smallest step you can take today? Write it down. Commit to it. At Renewed Psyche, we're here to walk this path with you. Subscribe, hit the bell, and join our community on X, where we share daily insights to help you apply the breakthrough method. In the comments, tell us, what's one change you're resisting, and what's one step you'll take to face it? Your story could inspire someone else. Change isn't easy, but it's your birthright. It's the fire that forges a renewed psyche. A life of clarity and courage. Let's evolve together, one brave step at a time.